The Galactic Combat Academy trusted one thing above all else: its algorithm. For nearly 2 centuries, the system had evaluated every known species, predicting combat performance with near-perfect accuracy. It determined who became officers, who joined elite units, and who was considered too dangerous, or too weak, for the battlefield. According to the algorithm, humans belonged in the second category, non-combatants. That classification survived exactly until the kill trial. My name is Zeltar, Senior Evaluation Officer of the Academy, and I have worked here for 14 cycles. In that time, I have witnessed impossible victories, legendary warriors, and more acts of reckless bravery than I care to remember. I thought I had seen everything. I was wrong. Because on the day the humans entered the trial arena, the Academy's most trusted system made a prediction so catastrophically inaccurate that it nearly broke the institution itself. At first, everyone laughed. The instructors laughed. The cadets laughed. Even I laughed. 3 hours later, nobody was laughing anymore. Before you ask, all 3 of my eyes work perfectly fine. Thank you very much. I am what you would call an admissions coordinator, which is a fancy way of saying I sort through applications from every corner of the galaxy and decide who gets to attend the most prestigious combat institution in known space. The Academy, perched on Station Krebnar in the Turt sector, is not just some school. Oh no, this is where warriors are forged. This is where the fiercest, most dangerous beings in the galaxy come to prove they are not just survivors, but apex predators. We have trained Krellian shock troopers, Vexian assassins, and even a few draft berserkers, who somehow managed not to kill their instructors. Our graduation rate hovers around 30%. The rest either wash out or, well, let us just say the medical facilities here are top-notch. So when the application from Sol 3, some backwater planet on the edge of the Orion Arm, landed on my desk, I did what any reasonable admissions coordinator would do. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. My assistant, a 2-headed krill named Moxa, both heads turned to stare at me like I had finally lost my mind. "What is so funny?" Moxa asked, her left head tilting in that way that always made me slightly uncomfortable. "The humans are applying," I said, sliding the datapad across my desk. The humans, those soft, squishy Deathworlder things with the backward-facing knees and the exposed skin. Mox's right head snorted. Her left head pulled up the species profile on her own terminal. Oh my. Look at this. Their homeworld classification is a 7.2 on the hazard scale. That is barely above Garden Worlds. They have no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced sensory organs. Their bite force is pathetic. They cannot even see in proper darkness. Exactly, I said, leaning back in my chair with all 3 eyes rolling in exasperation. And yet here they are, applying to the Academy like they belong here. Like they can compete with species who evolved on worlds where the rain is acidic and the predators hunt in packs of 50. The committee meeting that afternoon was, shall we say, brief. Commandant Grell, a massive thorum with 4 arms and scales that could deflect plasma rounds, barely glanced at the human application before dismissing it with a wave of his lower left hand. Denied. He rumbled. Obviously, but then, Counselor Yix, the ancient Sulam, who somehow remembers every regulation ever written, cleared his throat sac. Actually, Commandant, according to Treaty 775/B, any species with verified sapience and stellar travel capability has the right to attempt admission. We cannot deny them without processing at least 1 application. The silence in that room was delicious. G's facial plates actually flushed purple, which, if you know Thorum's, means he was about 2 seconds from throwing something heavy. Fine. Growled. Process 1. Put them in the standard intake. They will wash out in the first week anyway. That is how I found myself staring at the file for Cabinet Rena human female, age 24 standard years, formerly of Earth's military division. Her file was, to be brutally honest, unimpressive. No exotic enhancements, no genetic modifications, no cybernetic implants. Just a basic biological human with what their military called distinguished service record, whatever that meant. Here is where things get interesting. And by interesting, I mean catastrophically stupid. Our intake classification system runs on an algorithm designed by the Proxyan Collective, who are very smart, very logical, and very, very literal. The algorithm scans physiological data and assigns combat classifications based on observed threat levels. It looks at things like natural weaponry, defensive capabilities, speed metrics, and environmental adaptations. Humans, as it turns out, have almost none of these things. So, the algorithm did what any logical program would do when faced with a species that has no claws, no fangs, no armor plating, no venom glands, and no apparent biological weapons of any kind. It classified Renault as non-combatant support class logistics probable. I did not catch the error, neither did Moxa. Neither did anyone else in processing, because why would we? The algorithm had never been wrong before. Why would it start now? The acceptance letter went out on a Thursday, third cycle, morning shift, standard boilerplate. Welcome to the Academy. Here is your orientation schedule. Try not to die in the first week. Glory to the strong, etc., etc. What we did not know, what we could not have known, because apparently humans do not put this kind of thing in their species profiles, is that Renault was not just any human. She was a combat veteran from some conflict they called the Australian Insertion. Whatever that meant, she had more confirmed eliminations than most of our senior instructors. She had survived environments that would make a Krellian think twice. But sure, non-combatant seemed perfectly reasonable at the time. Mox's left head asked me the day before intake arrived if I had reviewed the human's file personally. Why would I? I replied, already buried in 30 other applications from actually dangerous species. The algorithm sorted her. Probably janitorial staff or cafeteria assignment. Maybe she can help organize the armory or something. Mox's right head made a clicking sound. That might have been concern. Did you at least read the personal statement? No, I admitted. Did you? Both heads shook in unison. No. If we had, we might have noticed the line where Renault wrote. And I am quoting directly here. I look forward to showing your academy what humanity can do. We thought she meant filing paperwork. We were so wrong. Intake day at the academy is always a spectacle. 63 species, 240 applicants, all stepping off transport ships with their various appendages held high, ready to prove they are the galaxy's next great warrior. The docking bay smells like a combination of ozone, fear, pheromones, and whatever passes for confidence in species that communicate through scent. I was standing on the observation platform with my datapad, checking off arrivals when the human transport docked. It was a small civilian vessel, nothing impressive. Definitely not the military cruisers that most warrior species arrive in, covered in kill markings and battle scars. The airlock hissed open, and out stepped Renla. I am not going to lie. My first thought was that, is it? That is a human. She was small, maybe 1.7 meters tall, which put her below average height for most species here. She had brown skin, dark hair pulled back in some kind of practical knot, and she was wearing what looked like standard civilian travel clothes. No armor, no weapons visible, no intimidating scars or ritual markings. She had 2 eyes, which seemed almost offensively inadequate, and her teeth, when she smiled at the docking officer, were flat and white, and completely non-threatening. She looked like she should be working in a data center, not attending the most dangerous combat school in the galaxy. Vuka noticed her immediately. Of course he did. Vuk, a 2.8-meter tall saurian with scales like polished obsidian and teeth that could punch through duroplast, never missed an opportunity to establish dominance. He slithered over his tail, scraping against the deck plating, and looked down at Rena with all the warmth of a deep space vacuum. "You are lost, little creature," Broke hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air. "The petting zoo is 3 stations over." Several nearby applicants laughed. A crayon barked something that probably translated to agreement. Kula, the insectoid from Hive Nexus Tertius, clicked her mandibles in what passes for Veskar amusement. Her compound eyes, all 47 of them, focused on the human with calculated interest. "Interesting," Gilla chittered, her translator, rendering her speech in flat, precise tones. "A prey species at a predator academy. This will be educational for approximately 4 minutes, until she is eliminated." Horn, who barely fit through the standard docking collar and had to duck his armored head to avoid scraping the ceiling, just grunted. Horn did not talk much, mostly because his species, the Groxians, communicated primarily through subsonic vibrations and threats of violence, but even he seemed amused. If the grinding sound coming from his thorax was any indication, Rena looked up at Rock. And here is the thing that should have warned us, should have set off every alarm bell in my three-eyed head. She did not flinch. She did not step back. She did not show even the slightest hint of fear or submission. She just smiled. "Thanks for the directions," she said, her voice calm, almost cheerful. "But I think I am exactly where I need to be." Brock's crest flared, a sign of irritation among Sorens. "You think you belong here? You, with your soft skin and your breakable bones. I could snap you in half before you even registered pain." "Maybe," Rena said, shrugging with a casualness that bordered on insulting. "But you probably should not try that before orientation. Pretty sure there are rules about killing classmates on the first day." I blinked, all three eyes cycling independently in disbelief. Was she mocking him? Did this tiny, unarmored human just mock Aeorian warrior to his face? Rog's tail lashed once, a clear threat display. But before he could respond, the orientation klaxon sounded, echoing through the docking bay with its familiar three-tone warning. "All applicants to Assembly Hall Gamma," the automated system announced. "Orientation begins in 10 minutes. Tardiness will result in immediate expulsion." The crowd began moving, a chaotic mass of scales, chiton, fur, and various other biological configurations. Rena picked up her single duffel bag, which looked almost comically small compared to the weapons crates and armor containers other applicants were hauling, and walked toward the assembly hall like she was heading to a completely normal first day of school. I caught up to her near the entrance, my curiosity overriding my professional detachment. "Applicant Cole," I said, falling into step beside her, which was awkward, because her legs were shorter, and she had to take more steps to match the pace. "I am Zeltar, admissions coordinator. I need to confirm your classification assignment." She glanced up at me, those two eyes somehow managing to convey more expression than my three. "Sure. What have you got me down for?" I checked my data pad. "Non-combatant support class. You will be assisting with logistics and equipment management during the combat trials." Rena stopped walking, just stopped right there in the corridor, and looked at me with an expression I could not quite read. Then she laughed. Actually laughed, this short, sharp bark of sound that made several nearby Krellians turn their heads in confusion. "Non-combatant," she repeated, like she was tasting the words. "You classified me as non-combatant." "Yes," I said, suddenly feeling defensive. "The algorithm scans physiological data and determines threat classification. It is very accurate." "Never been wrong, right?" Rena said, and that smile came back wider this time. "Well, this should be fun." Then, she started walking again, and I stood there watching her go, feeling something I had not felt in 14 cycles of working at the academy. In doubt, Assembly Hall Gamma can hold 3,000 beings comfortably, which means it holds 240 applicants, with room to spare for them to spread out according to species-specific comfort zones. The Krellians clustered in the high-temperature section, the Vescarades hung from the upper supports. The aquatic species floated in their specialized tanks along the western wall, and there, sitting in a standard gravity chair in the middle section, completely alone, because nobody wanted to sit near the weird little human, was Ren Cole. Commandant Grell entered through the primary doors, and the room went silent. When a four-armed Thorum, wearing the crimson sash of achievement, walks into a room, you shut up and pay attention. That is just survival instinct. "Welcome to the Galactic Combat Academy," Grill announced, his voice resonating through the hall without need for amplification. "Thorums have vocal cords that could shake hull plating. You are here because you believe you are warriors. You are wrong. You are applicants, potential, unproven, soft." He paused, letting that sink in. Several applicants shifted uncomfortably. Brooke's tail twitched. "In 3 days, you will face the kill trial," Grill continued. "This is tradition. This is how we separate those who belong here from those who were wasting our time. The rules are simple, which means most of you will still manage to misunderstand them." A holographic display materialized in the center of the hall, showing a massive arena environment. Forests, mountains, urban structures, all compressed into a 5-kilometer combat zone. 240 of you will enter the arena. Krell said 40 of you will exit as accepted students. The rest will exit as casualties, medical evacuations, or failures. Live weapons, love combat, full contact. You will be equipped with standard issue armor and one weapon of your choice. You may form alliances. You may betray those alliances. You may hide, fight, Run, or try to surrender. The arena does not care. I do not care. Survive. Eliminate your competition. Prove you deserve to be here. I watched Rena's face during this speech. Most applicants were leaning forward, eyes wide. Adrenaline, or equivalent hormones, clearly pumping. The Krellians were breathing harder. Quill's mandibles were clicking in rapid-fire excitement. Even Horn, stoic as his species tends to be, was grinding his armor plates together in anticipation. Rena just sat there, hands folded in her lap, expression neutral, like Grill was explaining cafeteria hours, instead of announcing a trial where 83% of participants would fail, often violently. You have 3 days to prepare, Grower finished. Use them wisely. Dismissed. The hall erupted into movement. Applicants scattered to their assigned preparation facilities, already forming groups, already strategizing. I watched Brock gather a pack of other reptilian species, clearly establishing himself as alpha. Killa disappeared toward the tactical simulation rooms with a cluster of insectoids. Horn simply walked toward the heavy weapons range because of course he did. And Rena. Rena went to the academy library. The library, not the combat simulation chambers, not the weapons testing facility, not even the strategy planning rooms. The library, where she proceeded to spend the next 6 hours reading human texts she had apparently brought with her on a portable data device. Mox's left head found me in the observation center that evening. The betting pools have opened already? I asked, though I was not surprised. Betting on the kill trial was unofficial but universal already. Moxa confirmed. Current odds have Brock at 3-1 favorite, Arn at 5-1, that Krellian pack leader Zas at 8-1, and the human both of Mox's heads grinned. 200 to 1 against nobody. Is betting on her survival past the first hour. Accounting put 50 credits on her lasting 90 minutes. That is the most generous estimate so far. I should have put money on Broke, should have taken the safe bet, but something about the way Rena had smiled when I told her she was classified as non-combatant kept nagging at me. What is she doing right now? I asked. Moxa checked her terminal still in the library. Oh, wait. No. She just left. Heading to the physical training center. Huh? She is running. Just running on the endurance track. For how long? She has been running for 47 minutes without stopping. Humans can do that. Mox's right head shrugged. Apparently, this one can. Day 2, Rena spent in the weapons facility, but not the way other applicants did. While Vroke was testing plasma rifles, and Kula was calibrating aim assist targeting systems, Rena was in the corner with the most basic primitive weapons the Academy kept for historical purposes. She picked up a simple metal rod, tested its weight, put it down, picked up a knife, examined the edge, set it aside. Finally, she selected what the catalog listed as Ballistic Projectile Launcher Human Variant Primitive Chemical Propulsion System, a gun. She chose a gun that still used bullets. The Rangemaster, a grizzled Vexian named Court, actually laughed when she made her selection. That thing is 400 years outdated. Court said, his eye stalks waving in amusement. We keep it in the museum section. Does it work? Rena asked. Well, yes, but then I will take it. By day 3, the betting odds had shifted to 300 to 1 against the human. Someone started a secondary pool betting on exactly how she would be eliminated. Vroke was the favorite to do it at even odds. I still had not placed my bet. Something told me I should wait. The kill trial arena is a masterpiece of sadistic engineering, 5 kilometers of varied terrain environmental hazards that randomly activate, and observation systems that can track every participant down to their individual heartbeats. The observation deck where faculty and staff watch the carnage unfold has comfortable seating, refreshment stations, and holographic displays that can zoom in on any section of the arena with perfect clarity. I had a front row seat, data pad in hand, ready to record eliminations for the official record. 240 applicants stood in the deployment zone, a flat circular platform in the exact center of the arena. Each wore standard issue light armor, the kind that might stop 1 or 2 hits before failing catastrophically. Each held their chosen weapon. The countdown display floated above them, numbers descending in that universal language of impending violence. 10, 9, 8. I found Rena in the crowd, because honestly, she was not hard to spot. She was a full head shorter than almost everyone around her, wearing armor that looked comically oversized on her small frame. She held that primitive human gun in both hands, pointed at the ground, her posture relaxed, casual, like she was waiting for public transport. Not a trial that would probably kill her in the next 15 minutes. 543. Raj was positioned near her. I noticed deliberately he had maneuvered during the pre-deployment staging to be within striking distance when the trial began. His plasma rifle was already tracking toward where she stood. 2-1. The platform beneath them vanished. Not dropped, not lowered, just ceased to exist, dumping 240 applicants into the arena below. Most were ready for this, landing in combat-ready stances, immediately scanning for threats or sprinting for cover. Rena dropped like everyone else, hit the ground in a roll that looked surprisingly competent, and then here is the thing that should have told me everything I needed to know. She disappeared, not literally. The tracking system still showed her biosignature, but she moved into a dense section of the artificial forest and became effectively invisible to visual observation. 1 second she was there, the next she was gone, swallowed by terrain and shadow. Where did the human go? Mox's left head asked, leaning toward the primary display. Tracking shows her moving northeast, I said, pulling up her biosignature. Fast she is. Wait, how is she moving that fast? Because Renee Cole was running, not jogging, not tactical advancing, but actually running at a pace that the arena sensors flagged as above species average sustained velocity. For a human who supposedly had no enhanced physiology, the arena erupted into violence approximately 8 seconds after deployment. A Krellian pack 5 strong engaged a group of Thorian berserkers in what the tactical display politely called mutual assured elimination. Plasma fire lit up the western sector. Kuhn and Herasarid allies had already established a fortified position in the ruined urban section, picking off anyone who wandered too close. Hearn predictably just walked straight through the center of the arena, his natural armor shrugging off hits that would have killed lesser species. He eliminated 3 applicants in the first 2 minutes, not through skill or tactics, but through the simple application of overwhelming durability and a really, really big hammer. In frock, confident and eager, moved into the forest section, hunting. The observation deck had multiple betting boards running along the upper walls, constantly updating with eliminations and odds adjustments. The human survival odds had actually gotten worse, hitting 400 to 1 after she fled into the forest instead of fighting, called it. Someone from the engineering faculty said, "Prey species response. Run and hide. Give her 10 minutes. Another voice added, "Broke is tracking her now." They were right. Brock's biosignature was moving through the forest with purpose, following what must have been Rena's trail. His hunter instincts honed on a death world where everything bigger than him wanted to eat him, and everything smaller was venomous. Had locked on to easy prey. I should have felt vindicated. The algorithm was right. Humans were non-combatants. Case closed. Lesson learned. But my central eye kept twitching, which it only does when something is wrong. Rogue found her 12 minutes into the trial in a small clearing surrounded by dense vegetation. The observation display zoomed in automatically combat priority tracking, because this was about to be the first confirmed human elimination, and everyone wanted to watch. Rena was standing there back to a massive tree that primitive gun held in a 2-handed grip, pointed at the ground, waiting like she knew he was coming, like she wanted him to find her. Broke emerged from the undergrowth. Plasma rifle raised that disturbing sorry grin spreading across his face. "Did you really think you could run from me, little human?" Rock hissed, his translator making sure we all heard his moment of triumph. "I have hunted prey on 6 worlds. You are soft, slow, weak." Rena did not respond. She just watched him with those inadequate 2 eyes, utterly calm. "Any last words before I?" She moved. "I need you to understand. I have watched thousands of hours of combat footage. I have seen Krellian speed fighters who can cross 20 meters in under a second. I have seen Vexian assassins strike before their targets register movement. I have seen combat at speeds that require slow-motion replay to properly analyze. Rena Cole moved wrong. Not faster than Vro necessarily, but at the wrong time in the wrong direction, in a way that the Sarian's predator brain clearly did not anticipate. His plasma rifle tracked where she should have been, fired at empty air. She was already inside his guard. That primitive gun coming up in a motion so smooth it looked choreographed. 3 shots. 3 impossibly loud chemical propulsion shots that the arena sensors barely registered as weapons fire because they were so outdated. Rog's shield generator sparked once and died. The first round hit his chest plate, cracking it. The second went through the crack. The third, because apparently Rena believed in certainty, hit the same spot, while Vro was still processing what had happened. He dropped 2.8 meters of apex predator eliminated in less than 2 seconds by a species classified as non-combatant. The observation deck went silent. Not the gradual quiet of people stopping to pay attention, but the instant absolute silence of 200 beings simultaneously forgetting how to process information. What? Mox's right head said very quietly. Just happened. I checked the replay because I had to. Had to confirm that what I just saw actually occurred. It had. Rena had eliminated Broke, current favorite to win the entire trial in 1.7 seconds, from first movement to confirmed elimination. Did she just hear? Someone from the tactical department said, voice trailing off into confused silence. She moved wrong, I said, my central eye still twitching. He could not track her because she moved wrong. What does that even mean? Moxa demanded. I pulled up the human species file again, scrolling through pages of information I should have read more carefully the first time. Found a section labeled Evolutionary History, Persistence, Predation. Oh no, she is not prey, I said, feeling something cold settle in my stomachs. Humans are not prey species. On the display, Rena was already moving again, disappearing back into the forest like she had never been there. Behind her, Rozo's biosignature flatlined as the medical extraction team deployed. The betting boards flickered. Odds recalculating. 400 to 1 became 200 to 1, then 100 to 1. Someone, I think it was Throx from accounting, whispered, "What in the seven hells is a human?" I was starting to think we were about to find out. The thing about watching a predator work is that you do not always recognize it immediately, especially when that predator does not look like what you expect a predator to look like. Rena did not rampage through the arena like Horn, smashing everything in her path. She did not establish a fortified kill zone like Killa and her insectoid tactical team. She did not even hunt in the traditional sense, tracking and chasing prey until it exhausted. She did something worse. She waited. 30 minutes into the trial, the elimination count was up to 47. Most of those were the expected casualties, weaker applicants caught in crossfire or eliminated by more experienced fighters. The arena had settled into distinct zones of control. The Krellian pack held the southern sector. Killiscarids controlled the urban ruins. H owned everything he could reach in the central plains. And the forest, the dense shadowy forest where Vrock had died, became a place that applicants started avoiding because every so often someone would enter the forest and they would not come back out. Elimination confirmed. Applicants whose the arena system announced KSUF, ballistic projectile trauma. The observation deck was packed. Now word had spread. Faculty who normally skipped the kill trial considering it beneath their notice had shown up. Even some senior students were crowding the viewing windows. How many is that? Someone asked. I checked my datapad though I already knew the answer. 12. Rena has 12 confirmed eliminations. Impossible. A Thorum tactical instructor growled. She has been in the arena for 43 minutes. That is one elimination every 3.6 minutes. The math is correct, I said, because arguing with numbers was pointless. Moxa pulled up Rena's movement pattern on the tactical display. What should have been a chaotic path of combat and pursuit was instead something uncomfortably methodical. She moved in sweeping patterns through the forest, covering ground with that same sustained pace we had seen on day 2. Never stopping, never resting, just moving constantly, like some kind of machine that did not understand fatigue. Look at her respiratory rate, Mox's left head said, highlighting the bioscan data. It has not changed, not once. She is running a 43-minute sustained combat operation, and her breathing is steady. That cannot be right. I said the sensors must be malfunctioning. But they were not malfunctioning. Humans, I was learning from frantic research on my datapad, were persistence hunters. They did not chase prey in short bursts like sensible predators. They chased prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They could regulate their body temperature through water secretion, maintain pace for hours, even days if necessary. Renal was not getting tired. Everyone else was. Ittila noticed the pattern before most. That is why she was a tactical specialist, why the Veskrid Hive Collective had sent her as their representative. She analyzed the data, recognized the threat, and made the logical decision to eliminate the human before the human could eliminate her. Dispatching intercept team to grid sector 774. Killer's translator announced her mandibles, clicking with algorithmic precision. Target: human combatant. Strategy: envelopment, and overwhelming firepower. Probability of success 94.3%. 5 Vascarids, including Qua, moved into the forest in a perfect tactical formation. They had equipment synchronization, overlapping fields of fire, communication discipline. They were everything the Academy taught about small unit tactics. They found Rena 16 minutes later, or more accurately, she found them. The observation deck watched in real time as the engagement unfolded. The Veskars approached in standard search pattern, sensors sweeping, weapons ready, professional, competent. Exactly by the book, Rena was sitting on a tree branch 4 meters above the ground, perfectly still, that primitive gun resting across her lap. Contact, contact. One of the Veskarids chittered, visual on target. Engaging, Rena dropped from the branch as they opened fire, and again, she moved wrong. Not faster, not slower, just at angles that the Veskarids' tactical algorithms did not predict. She hit the ground, rolled, came up firing, but here is what made it horrifying. She did not panic, did not spray ammunition hoping for hits. Each shot was deliberate, placed with precision that suggested she knew exactly where Veskarid armor was weakest. She eliminated 2 Vaskarids in 4 seconds, using exactly 4 rounds. Cooler adapted, because that is what good tacticians do. She redirected fire, compensated for the human's movement pattern, adjusted her team's formation. Rena adapted faster. She used the terrain, the trees, the shadows. She fired from positions that should not have provided adequate cover, but somehow did. She moved between shots, never staying in one place long enough for the Veskarids to establish targeting solutions. When the engagement ended 90 seconds later, all 5 Veskarids were eliminated. Rena had a minor graze across her left shoulder, where one plasma bolt got close, and she had used exactly 19 rounds of ammunition. The observation deck was not silent this time. It was loud, with confused, concerned, and increasingly worried voices. "She is reading their tactics," the tactical instructor said, his forearms crossed in a posture that screamed disbelief. "In real time, she is learning their patterns and adapting mid-combat." "How is that possible?" someone demanded. I found the relevant section in the human species file, hands shaking slightly as I read. Pattern recognition. Humans evolved to track patterns in everything: weather, animal behavior, social dynamics, combat tactics. Their brains are built for it. 1 hour and 12 minutes into the trial, H decided he had waited long enough. The armored Groxian, who had been systematically eliminating everyone in the open terrain, turned his attention to the forest. Finally, someone muttered, "Harn will end this. The human's little gun cannot hurt him." Chi walked into the forest like he walked everywhere, directly and without concern for subtlety. His armor, which had already shrugged off plasma fire, kinetic rounds, and one unfortunate Krell who tried to bite him, made him effectively invincible to most weapons in the arena. Rena did not try to shoot through his armor. She shot his knees twice precisely, in the joint gaps where armor plates met. Then, while Harn was processing the novel experience of his legs not working, she walked up and placed 3 rounds through his next seal. The odds-on second favorite to win the trial. Eliminated in 11 seconds. The betting boards were going insane now. Odds fluctuating wildly, as bookmakers tried to account for something they had never seen before. Renly had gone from 400 to 1 against, to 3-1 favorite in just over an hour. "Pull up her complete bioscan. I ordered Moxa because I needed to understand. Needed to know what we had led into the academy." The data appeared, and I finally saw what the algorithm had missed. Humans did not have natural armor. True, but they had bone density that was absurd for their size. They did not have venom, but they had hand-eye coordination that exceeded 97% of known species. They did not have enhanced senses, but they had threat assessment processing that bordered on precognition and stamina. Oh, by all the stars in all the galaxies. The stamina. "She has been in continuous combat or movement for 1 hour and 19 minutes, Mox's right head reported. Her heart rate is elevated, but stable. Respiratory function normal. No signs of fatigue. How many eliminations now?" I asked, though I was afraid of the answer. 21 confirmed. Renicole has eliminated 21 applicants. The observation deck had gone from confused to fascinated to something approaching horrified respect. We were watching a species we had classified as non-combatant systematically dismantled the best warriors the galaxy had to offer. Commandant Grell stood at the observation window, all forearms gripping the railing, his facial plates that deep purple that meant he was either furious or impressed. Possibly both. "Ooh," he said very slowly, very carefully. Classified this human as non-combatant. Every eye in the room, all three of mine included, turned to look at me. "The algorithm," I said weakly. "The algorithm classified her." "Your algorithm," Grell rumbled, "is fired." On the displays, Rena was moving again, heading toward the final concentration of applicants in the northern sector. She paused once, just for a moment, to reload her weapon with ammunition she had apparently been carrying the entire time. Then she kept going, tireless, methodical, inevitable, like something that had evolved specifically to never, ever stop. 2 hours and 47 minutes into the kill trial, 3 applicants remained. Renly human, classified non-combatant. Current elimination count, 31. Texas, a Dan shock trooper with 8 confirmed kills and armor that made Harn look underprotected. Vexa, a Carillion assassin breed with 12 eliminations and stealth capabilities that bent light around her body. The arena had become a graveyard of failed warriors. Medical extraction teams were working overtime. The betting boards had locked because honestly nobody knew what to bet anymore. "They are converging on the central platform," Moxa reported, tracking all 3 biosignatures. Final elimination zone. The platform where everyone had deployed now served as the traditional final battleground. Crexus arrived first, his heavy footsteps shaking the metal surface. Vexa shimmered into visibility on the eastern edge, her adaptive camouflage disengaging for the honor of face-to-face combat. Rena just walked up the western approach, still carrying that primitive gun, her armor scorched and dented, but functional. She looked tired now, finally, but not exhausted, just tired in the way someone gets after a long day of work. A long day of eliminating 31 highly trained warriors. Crexus made the first move, because death runs do not do subtle. He charged with a roar that registered on seismic sensors. His shock maul crackling with enough energy to level a building. Vex went invisible, circling for a kill strike. Rena did neither. She stepped sideways, casual, like she was avoiding foot traffic, and Craigslist charge carried him past where she had been standing. She fired twice while he was trying to stop his momentum. Both rounds hit the same spot on his lower back armor. The third shot, because humans apparently believed in patterns of 3, went through the weakness the first 2 had created. Crexus dropped. Eliminated is shock maul clattering across the platform. Vexa struck from behind, blade extending from her invisible form, aiming for Rena's neck. Rena ducked, not dodged, not blocked, just dropped into a crouch at exactly the moment the blade would have connected, like she had heard Vexa coming, despite the Carillion's complete silence. "Impossible," someone in the observation deck whispered. She cannot hear stealth breeds, but Rena did not need to hear Vexa. She just needed to predict where an invisible assassin would attack from, which apparently for humans was just something they could do. She spun, fired blind into empty air, and Vex's camouflage failed as the round found her. Not a killing shot, but enough to trigger the arena's elimination protocols when Vexa could not continue fighting. Silence, complete, and total silence in the observation deck. Then the arena system in its emotionless automated voice announced, "Trial complete, qualifying applicants 40. Top elimination count, Renault Human 33 confirmed. Status accepted." The medical bay was chaos. Eliminated applicants in various states of injury and unconsciousness filled every bed. I found Rena sitting on an exam table in the corner, letting a medical drone patch the graze on her shoulder. She was drinking water, lots of water, which the medical staff found fascinating because apparently humans needed constant hydration. Commandant Grell arrived with the force of a small meteor impact, his footsteps echoing through the bay. Every conscious applicant went silent. He stopped in front of Rena, looked down at her with all the intensity of a species that had conquered 12 star systems through sheer intimidation, and said, "Explain." Rena blinked up at him, those 2 inadequate eyes somehow conveying mild confusion. "Explain what, sir?" "How a non-combatant species just achieved the highest elimination count in Academy history." "Oh," Rena said like that was a perfectly reasonable question. "Yeah, about that. Humans are not really non-combatants. We are persistence predators. We evolved chasing prey across continents until it literally died from exhaustion. We sweat, which means we do not overheat. We have endurance that most species do not, and we are really, really good at pattern recognition and adaptability. Basically, we are built to keep going when everything else stops. She took another drink of water, completely casual. Also, we have been fighting each other for about 10,000 years, so we got pretty good at combat tactics along the way. Grar's facial plates did that purple thing again. He turned very slowly to look at me. "Zeltar," he said, voice carefully controlled. "Report." I stepped forward, datapad clutched in my hands like a shield. The classification algorithm failed to account for endurance-based predation strategies. "Sir, it scanned for immediate physical threats like claws, armor, venom. Humans have none of those. What they have is stamina, pattern recognition, and tactical adaptability that our metrics did not measure." "Fix it," Grodard. "Yes, sir. Immediately, sir." He looked back at Rena, who was now eating something from a ration pack, like she had not just redefined our entire understanding of threat assessment. "Welcome to the Academy." A patent cold. Gree said, "You are no longer classified as non-combatant." "What am I classified as?" Rena asked. Gree considered for a moment, his forearms crossing in what might have been respect. Terrifying. 3 days later, I sent out the updated admissions protocols to every branch office in the galaxy. The new human classification was simple, direct, and based on extremely recent empirical evidence. Species, human, threat level, apex classification, persistence, predator. Combat rating, do not underestimate. Repeat, do not underestimate. Renly graduated top of her class 4 cycles later. She is now an instructor teaching tactical adaptation and endurance combat. Enrollment applications from Earth increased by 4,000%. I approved every single one, because honestly, if you cannot beat them, you might as well train them and never ever classify them as non-combatant again. The algorithm learned its lesson, so did I. Humans, as it turns out, are exactly as dangerous as they need to be, which is significantly more dangerous than anyone expects. The Academy has never been the same,